and we've got a great guest coming on board. But first, let me remind you where you might be able to watch our pretty faces, if that's what you want to do today. If you're just listening, you may be listening on AM 1620 here locally in Hemet San Jacinto area, or you may be listening to us on the internet, on linked, or I don't know, there's a bunch of places you might be listening to us. Tuned in, not LinkedIn, tune in radio, or hello to our friends out there in Europe who are listening to us on satellite radio. We're also available if you live in Riverside County and parts of San Bernardino County. We're on Channel 45, Verizon Fios, and channels 0 and 126 on Time Warner Cable. So we're so glad to have you guys join us, whether you're watching us or listening to us. Glad you're on the air. Or you can watch the tweet feed if you'd like, and you can even ask questions there. We'll be able to see those and answer those for you on smradio.org/tweet. So that's all set up for you, and we would love to have you join us any way that you can. Today, my co-host is none other than a man who has some great experience as in the military. He was a Special Forces member. Since then, he survived because he's still alive and all that stuff. And now he's running a chain of hotels and also a consulting business. And he consults for a couple of companies you may have heard of, like Turner Broadcasting and some little place called the Pentagon. So the guy is really out there. Larry, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well.
Oh, yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see you and hear you this morning.
We're not going back. We're only moving forward.
That's right. Oh, always move forward, right? Even if it's just a little bit.
Right.
Anything special going on with you right now? Do you have anything coming up in the near future? Or?
Well, we are always staying busy. One of the things that we're really planning on is we've got a big event coming up in February, and so we're pretty excited about that. But yeah, always staying busy. Got my kids running all over the place. School started for them about a week and a half ago, so that's always a challenge. But lots of fun. Yeah.
Very true. Well, glad to have you on as a co-host today.
Thank you so much. It's going to be fun.
And I also want to welcome Freddie Combs. Now, Freddie Combs, some of you may have seen him last year. He wowed the judges on X Factor as he was wheeled out in an extra-large wheelchair. They kind of looked at him funny, and some audience members even looked at him funny, and they thought, who's this guy? And out of his mouth came this heavenly voice, just kind of shocked the entire crowd. They stood up and were cheering and cheering. Beautiful voice. He is also a minister. He used to weigh 920 pounds, if I remember, and up on stage you had lost almost 400, and now you're at 475, so I'm just going to go ahead and say he's lost almost 500 pounds, because that's going to make him feel good. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good today. How are y'all doing?
Doing great. Doing really, really good. Hey, you are a double-header today. This is a first time ever that we've had this happen. You were on the television show with Sandra D. Robinson and myself. We filmed it last week at about 9:30. While we're in the middle of this show, it'll start airing on Verizon and Time Warner Cable. So you're a double-header today.
I am honored.
That celebrity status.
That's right. Oh yeah, big time. So for those of our listeners in our audience who may not have seen your performance there in X Factor, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background that apply to business, and that is achieving goals, number one. And losing almost 500 pounds, that's a huge goal. And being able to get your voice the way that it is, I mean, maybe you were born with it, but I'm guessing you practiced a little bit too. So can you tell us a little bit of your background and what brought you to where you are today?
Sure. I am a native of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, and I have always fought obesity. Always been involved with music. Love music. Have sung all of my life. I began playing a little toy piano when I was age 2. That's what my mom and daddy tell me anyhow. I don't remember that, but I began picking out hymns and stuff on the piano when I was 2. I sang in church, but somebody was asking me this past weekend, when did I realize I could sing? That would be in high school. I tried out for a solo in our choir, and it happened to be a very short little solo on a Beatles song. And when I opened my mouth to sing that day, it came out like nothing I had ever heard. And everybody just stopped. The music stopped. The people stopped singing. I just sat there, and they started clapping and everything. And when I got home, I started practicing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can really do this."
Wow! This is when you were how old?
I was I was a freshman in high school. I'd probably been about 13.
Wow!
And I know, as odd as it sounds, even most of my music is in church. It didn't happen in church for me. It happened in high school, and that was the day I feel like that I got my vocal cords. But I have always fought obesity, and I've had different points in my life when I've been very successful, and then I would gain it back. But it always rose back up. So in 2009, when my highest weight was 920, I almost died, and the Lord gave me another chance at life, and I aim to take every advantage of that and do everything I can for Him and for my fellow man. And going on X Factor just happened to be one of the little kudo things that I got to do, and that was a great experience, none like I had ever done before. And
tell us how did that come about? I mean, did they just discover you, or did you have to go through a whole process of application, or?
Well, I was working with a producer. He's out of Florida, but he works for a European TV station, RL Television, in Europe, and he was producing a sort of a documentary about my life, about my weight loss, and he said, "You need to go on X Factor." And I said, "I am not eating anything for money." I thought it was another show.
You thought it was like Fear Factor.
Exactly. I didn't know exactly what they were wanting me to do.
Okay, I want to be the one to challenge you now. Freddie, you got to go on Fear Factor, man.
Look, if they'll raise the purse on that show, I think it's like only $25,000. For me to eat something like some crazy stuff they got on there, I'd at least have to be $1 million. Talk about it.
That's right.
That's awesome.
That's funny. I'd do it for like $10. I'd be okay.
Me and my wife always play this game. I'm like, "Girl, what would you eat for $1 million?" And she'd say, "Oh, I don't know." And then I'll offer her all kind of excuses and things. And I say, "You better at least try it for $1 million. All I know." He offered me. He called me one day and he said, "Listen, get to Nashville. I want you to try out for X Factor, audition for X Factor." I said, "Okay." And we went to a mall out in Nashville, very nice mall. There was a little kiosk out there called My Studio, and the little building. Well, I say building. The little room that My Studio was in could not have been larger than a sauna.
Wow.
When I saw it, I told Kay, I said, "I can't get in that little building." Because there was just enough room for me in my wheelchair. And I got in the little thing. They shut the door. I watched a little video with Simon Cowell telling me what to do. I had 1.5 minutes to do it. And I sang Bridge Over Troubled Water, told them why I was the X Factor. I mentioned my weight loss and things like that. I got done. Time went on. I thought the show had already aired. They had already chosen a winner. But lo and behold, at the 1st of July in 2012, I got a call one evening from a producer, and they said, you need to be in Greensboro on Sunday and have 5 songs ready to sing before the judges. And then that's what you saw, everyone saw on X Factor last fall.
So let me get this straight. Now, it's Thursday, and they said, okay, in like, what, 2 days or 3 days,
yes.
We want you in where, in Nashville?
No, they wanted me in Greensboro.
Greensboro, with 5 songs.
5 songs. Memorized the whole 9 yards.
I'd rather eat a snake.
Hey, snakes
for $1 million. For $1 million.
Hey, Freddie, I would imagine that there would be a little bit of anxiety all wrapped up into that, a little bit of fear. And I just know so many people get wrapped up in fear, which can absolutely paralyze them. Mm-hmm. Certainly your sphere of influence would be smaller if you wouldn't have stepped out and done this. So number 1, did you feel any anxiety and fear? And number 2, if you did, how did you push through that? How did you really step into this whole thing?
The fear that I experienced was, actually I was fearful for Kay because I didn't want her to be embarrassed with any of the reactions that I might have received on stage when I got pushed out there. I am one who I am very comfortable singing with large crowds. I could sing in front of 1 million people, but you put me in front of 1 or 2 people, and I get nervous. I'm talking really nervous. And I feel like they can reach out and touch me.
Yeah.
But I was more that day. I was more excited to actually get it over with because I had been there from 8 o'clock in the morning, and I did not actually audition until 10:30 that night. But I know some people were very fearful, and I thought to myself, why are you even here? A lot of them were losing their lunch, and
oh boy,
some of them were crying. Of course, it takes a toll on different folks, but I come there to do one thing, and that was to sing and get back to Tennessee because I was tired.
I've got a question for you. Is when you were there, you mentioned that a lot of other people were very fearful and I guess they couldn't find their lunch or something, you said?
Uh-huh.
And, I am guessing that because you are an active minister that you probably talked to a few of them. What are some of the things that you did? What did you say to them to try to help them through their fears?
One thing I kept telling them from the get-go at the X Factor thing was, no matter what the outcome is, this doesn't define who you are. Small defeats don't really define who you are as a whole. They just help to build you. And I told them that then, and I also told them that later in the competition when people would just be beside themselves on the floor squalling and kicking like a kid, and I would tell them, look, get yourself together. Life goes on. I mean, this is just a talent show. People do this all the time, but there's only going to be one winner. Everybody went in knowing there would only be one winner.
Right.
And so I just encouraged everybody to there's more to their life than just this one experience.
You know, that's interesting because when you think about it, a lot of people have a fear starting a business, and they think there's only going to be one winner for that. And
yes.
That's not the case. You know, everybody can win if you use the right techniques, if you do the right research and get the right mentors and all that stuff. So it's actually less of a real fear, I think, to start a business than it is to go on a show like that.
The one thing I found encouraging was there were people there who realized that they would not probably win, but they wanted to take advantage of the opportunity they had been given, and any TV time they got, they wanted to maximize on that, and they knew that that's what they would get from it, and that's basically taking lemons and making lemonade or lemon meringue pie or whatever you want to make out of.
Coming from a foodie, yes, a lemon meringue pie.
Yes, my wife made one just this past week, or last 2 weeks ago. It was very good.
my wife just made. She just got a recipe off of Facebook or somewhere like that. It's called the white trash casserole, and it was actually pretty good. I love the name, but
I resemble that. Be careful. Be careful. I can't deny my roots.
I was fixing to say the same thing, Larry.
Hey, high five, man.
I'll have to send you a copy of that recipe. Well, we've got about a minute and a half before we go to break. So, can you give us just a little bit of a feel for how you? My assistant, by the way, who's tweeting for us, is saying that dish is very good. So she has had it also. I won't make any comments or I'll get in trouble, but we did enjoy it very much. So I hope my trainer's not listening this morning. But anyway, in the last minute here before break, Freddie, if you could just give us a little idea of did this event going on X Factor change your life? I mean, don't get into the story now, but can you give us a little teaser about what you can talk about after the break?
Yeah, it pretty much revolutionized our life. Our life is very different now from the day that the show aired last fall. Life between then and now is like apples and oranges. Totally different.
Well, when we come back, we will find out a little bit about how you utilized your fame to help you with your business, which is actually a ministry. And in a way, that's just like marketing in a business. So we'll be able to learn some tips from you as soon as we come back from this break. And we'll be back shortly. Remember to follow us on smradio.org/tweet.
You must be your fairy godmother.
Cinderella's dream comes true because the glass slipper fits.
It fits.
In our world, the right fit can be just as important, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose a car seat that's the right fit for your child's age and size to make sure your little pumpkin gets there safely every time.
Hop in, dear. Thank you.
For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. This message has been brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Chris, can you put the video game controller down for a second?
I can talk and play. Oh, I'm totally annihilating this punk kid in Nebraska.
I just feel like you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
Well, you know, you still ride your skateboard to work, there's the comic book collection, the race car bed.
Look, I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I picked up a few savings tips at feedthepig.org. I have control over my financial life now, and that feels pretty grown up.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. For free ideas and easy tips on ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
So, I bet I look like a grown-up to you now.
Well, except for the footy pajamas, I'd have to agree.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Saturday Morning CEO Radio Show. We are back with Freddie Combs, the big X Factor contestant who wowed the judges, and we are glad to have you back on the air. Make sure you guys have unmuted your mics, and we'll get you back here on the air. So, Freddie, you mentioned to us that it did change your life by being on X Factor. Now, you had been on television before, right? There was a documentary or something that was done for you?
Yes, we had been on TLC a couple of times.
Okay.
Had also been on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and we weren't strangers to TV.
I think I lost you there.
I'm sorry, we weren't strangers to TV.
Okay. So, but did you have the same reaction after the TLC shows and stuff as you did after the X Factor? And what did you use? How did you use it to help you in your ministry?
The reaction that we had after TLC, and as compared to the reaction after X Factor, was very different. The way I have been able to use the exposure from X Factor, one of the good things is that they did ask me what my occupation was, and I told them that before I was on disability, and actually I still am on disability. I'm not able to do ministry full time,
Okay.
but that I was a minister, and I am a minister. That to me is something that you can't just put to the side. You can't,
Right.
You can't do it. That would be like me separating me from myself, and I can't do that. And but it has allowed me to, in meeting people in public, to minister to a lot of people right where we are, whether it be the mall, the grocery store, no matter where we are. They know I'm a minister just from the fact that they saw me on TV, and they bring me prayer requests or whatever, and we pray right then. I'm a pray right now kind of person.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do you get requests for the song that you sung on that you had sang on X Factor too at your concerts?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the first time I ever was asked to sing that song after X Factor was in Evansville, Indiana. I was singing at a Baptist church up there, and Evansville is a very pretty town. The church was pretty much made up of older folk, and I wasn't. They knew X Factor like the back of their hand. I was surprised. I didn't think that. Pardon this, but I didn't think the Geritol generation would recognize X Factor. And they were telling me. They said, "We want you to sing that Wind Beneath My Wings." That was so pretty. So I sang Wind Beneath My Wings that night. I did not have the track to it, so I had to play it. I played the piano as well.
Oh, great.
So I played it and sang it, and they loved it, Lord. They loved it so good. And but for me, I love singing for old folk. Of course, the older I get classified in that category.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you're really getting close to that, Freddie. Yeah.
You guys,
Freddie, listen. You were talking about your ministry and that you can't separate yourself from it. I call that a calling. And
Yes.
The funny thing is, I find so many business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders who look at what they do the same way, that they feel like it's a calling.
Absolutely.
And that they've got a moral obligation to serve from this.
Right.
And oftentimes it seems like the biggest ministry field out there is in the workplace right now. Right? So
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that? Am
Well,
I totally off base on it, or?
Oh no, it's absolutely true. To me, you've heard the old saying, "You'll enjoy your job if you love what you do."
Yeah.
right.
You'll never work a day if you love what you do, and that is the very same thing. People who own a business, when they live, eat, breathe, and sleep, whether it's baking or office work or teaching, whatever it is, when they do what they love, it's not work, and you just happen to make a living at it. And with ministry, it is the very same thing. You always have an opportunity to change lives, and that's exactly what business is. You're changing circumstances. If somebody brings you something that's broke and it's your job to fix it, you change that circumstance. And you can't be what you're called to. You cannot not be what you're called to be.
Right.
You have to be true to yourself.
And it seems to me that it's more than just thinking about it, though. You've got to take actions. You've got to actually state, hey, here's what my goal is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that surprised me most. I'm going to be really honest with you. When I saw you on X Factor, was that, I was very excited for you, but I thought, oh my gosh, this guy just said in front of a million people, or millions of people, really, I don't know how many watch that show, I'm assuming it's millions of people, that I'm going to get up here and I'm going to do this standing up, right? You kind of laid down the gauntlet. right?
Absolutely.
And it seems like that's one of the most important things about when we set goals is to state them publicly. And there's no more public setting than an X Factor in front of a couple million people. So how's that played out in the whole process since then? Because sometimes people can be absolutely crushed by, oh my gosh, I just told 1 million people I've got to do this, now I've got to do it, and then they don't do it, or they're inspired to greatness. How has the journey been for you since you stated that publicly?
It has been, it is like Uber accountability, for one thing.
Yeah.
I've had people all over the globe send me messages, are you standing yet? And I've posted things where I've shown progress. I've posted things on Facebook and YouTube showing some progress. And I think what it is taking a while for me to build my strength back up. But I always tell them, and it's just like you said, I knew when I said that, I was drawing a line in the sand that was so deep that I could fall in and bury myself in.
Right, good way to put it.
Because truthfully, I'm either I have the choice to step up to the plate, no pun intended, to step up to the plate, or to become the biggest liar, and again, no pun intended, on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And both of those are very sobering thoughts. And I'm not a liar, so I aim to show people that it can be done. And my plan, lots of folks have said, are you going back to X Factor this season? Of course, that's not happening because they've already taped it and everything. But I am going back next season. And I'm not, I'll enter the competition, but I'm not so much concerned with entering the competition as I want to stand on that stage and sing that song and show everybody that's watching or has watched that it can be done.
Well, when those judges on that show, I know a lot of celebrities, and I'm not really that impressed with most of these celebrities, but all of them went up a couple of notches in my book that day because they were speaking what I felt like was truth into you, and they were saying, hey, I believe that you can do this. And I think that there's an obligation that we have as leaders is to speak into the potential that people have when oftentimes they don't see it themselves, right?
Absolutely.
It seems like you've got that role now, don't you? Don't you have to do that?
Yes, I do that on a daily basis. Sometimes I think to myself sometimes with all of the emails and messages that I get, here comes another one, because I get them all day long. But it is people who are needing their lives spoken into, and I realize that I have been given the gift of speaking life to them, or refusing to speak and allowing negative circumstances, and in some cases, death, because there are some people who contact me who are in dire straits. I've had several people contact me who have been suicidal because of weight. And as a matter of fact, I had somebody contact me last night. They were asking me what to do. How am I doing it? How am I doing it? They can't stand to live anymore, and they don't know what they're going to do. So when you have that kind of that pressure on you to make it happen for somebody, it brings something out in you. You get it done regardless, because you realize somebody's happiness and somebody's life is sort of hanging in the balance.
Freddie, I just want to touch on that for a second too. It's the same thing I think in business, that if you really need something to happen, either through your passion or because of I know somebody, a friend of mine, who is starting a new business, and his wife has some serious medical issues, and that is what's motivating him to get his business successful as possible so that he can spend more time with her. So he's got like this fire under him to get him going, and I think whether or not the fire just happens or we light it ourselves, doesn't that fire help us? I mean, what do you think? Either one of you, Larry or Freddie?
That's good preaching, Larry. Or good preaching there, Dennis. Light that fire, glory.
Yeah,
I think that you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter oftentimes what the motivation is. Hopefully, you guys know what my faith system is. Hopefully it's about good. But sometimes we have to tap into something that's bigger and more grand than we are, because life is hard. Life is hard sometimes. And if we don't have something that's motivating us and inspiring us every day to get out of bed, then it's going to be very easy to curl up in the fetal position every morning and just lick our wounds. Because Marcus Aurelius, great warrior from centuries ago, said that the art of life is more like wrestling than dancing. Right? It's hard. It's hard. And so whether it's we're being inspired by a sick wife or by doing great things for other people, we've got to tap into something besides our own strength, because individually we're small, right?
Yes.
Right. You bring up a good point, Larry, that I want to ask Freddie about too, is that individually we can't really do it ourselves. And I've talked about, we've been doing this show over a year now. I've talked to all kinds of different celebrities and business owners, and everybody agrees that you've got to have a team of support system there, including mentors and advisors and everything else. Yeah. Is there maybe a couple people that you can think of, Freddie, that really helped to mentor and inspire you in whether it be your singing career or your weight loss?
Well, my wife is the first one, because I want to be healthy for her. To say that I have the best wife in the world is an understatement, and I want to be around to enjoy her and for her to enjoy me, because I know that she loves me that much. She is my first. She is the main reason, and she pushes me. But then also, I had a pastor that I worked for back when I was 16. I began in ministry really early, and I was a youth pastor. And he spoke to me one day, and he said to me, I was talking about entering into doing music education instead of entering into ministry. And he said, would you rather, and of course he understood that the teaching profession is very honorable. He said, would you rather teach, or would you rather lead the people of God in worship to Him? That stuck with me from the time I heard it, and it changed the way I thought. Even right now, as a 42-year-old man, I think probably once a week I hear him say that to me, and it pushes me in my music. Even though he was not musically inclined, the words that he said to me push me even now. And with my weight, my love from my wife and her dedication to me pushed me now.
Do you have an example, somebody else that has lost a lot of weight or something that inspired you?
Yes, there is a lady. I saw her on Discovery Health or some TV. Her name is Robin Moran. She was in a nursing home in Ohio. And as a matter of fact, I contacted her and spoke with her. But she lost a tremendous amount of weight. And there was another lady named Jackie. They did a show together, but they'd almost died. Their lives were very, they were almost down and out, and they had lost weight and were getting their lives back. And they inspired me here recently, as recent as 2007.
Oh, that's really good. To have that example is a huge thing. Larry, did you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to stress to the listeners and viewers out there that what Freddie just said is kind of almost a throwaway statement, but it's powerful. And that is that he saw Robin on Discovery Health or something like that, and what did he do? He called her.
Right.
He picked up the phone and he called her. Too often we think that, boy, if this person's on TV or if this person has been in a newspaper or magazine, they're not going to have time for me. And oftentimes they don't. But you don't know until you pick up the phone and actually call them and reach out. Right?
That
absolutely
turns a distant goal into something personal. that person can become your mentor and your friend. So we've just got a few minutes before we go to break here. So when we come back, what I'd like to do of business and look in your life how you are able to have some balance in your life. You know, having a life balance is a big thing. So losing weight, singing, ministry, traveling, all those things. Let's talk a little bit about the balance of life, and we'll be back very, very shortly here. Quick reminder, if you are not watching us and would like to, do so on Verizon Fios Channel 45, Time Warner Cable Channel 0 and 126.
For the California Dental Association, Christy Yamaguchi.
As daughter of a dentist, I know the importance of having healthy teeth and a bright, healthy smile. Tooth decay is the #1 childhood disease, more than asthma and obesity. That's why a new state law requires that kindergartners receive a dental checkup. So parents, prepare your children for school. Take your child to
800-CDA-SMILE.
Do you suffer from the heartbreak of brain rot, feeling bored, sluggish, listless, not had a new idea in days, using electronic gizmos without a clue why they work? Now there's help. Ham radio, guaranteed to stimulate your corroding neurons and open a whole new world of excitement. To learn more about ham radio, go to helloradio.org.
Side effects of ham radio usage include mental stimulation, desire for education, new career paths, understanding of technology, and cases of addiction have been reported. If you experience any of these symptoms, you're welcome.
Ham radio. It's not your granddaddy's radio anymore.
They were outnumbered, out-equipped. They had no chance of winning, but they had one huge advantage: General George Washington.
The fate of unborn millions will now depend, under God, on the courage and conduct of this army. We have to resolve to conquer or die.
Just as the leadership of one man helped form a nation, today leadership can transform the world. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
It's like FM without the commercials. It's like XM without the quality. It's AM 1620, the Eagle Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Saturday Morning CEO Radio Show. We're so glad to either be seeing you or talking to you. We love to connect with you. I wanted to just let you know that within this next week or two, we're going to be starting a new segment on the show, and it's going to be honoring businesses in your area with what we're going to call the Gold Star business. So if you feel that there's a business around you that's got some absolutely wonderful customer service or some other great things, then you can either tweet us or email us or message us on Facebook or whatever you want to do, and we'll pick somebody each week and send them out a little plaque and let them know that the Saturday Morning CEO Radio Show listeners think that they're great. So watch for that segment soon. We're back with Freddie Combs and my co-host Larry Broughton. And we want to drag everything we can out of you, Freddie. You're so full of information and especially about goal setting and accomplishing things that you've started. So we want to look at how that applies in business. When you look at your life and try to balance everything, what are some of the tips and tricks that you use to maybe prioritize or make sure you're accomplishing what you need to do? Are there any tricks that you have you can share with our audience?
To say I've got tricks, I don't know that I could name any tricks I've got, but I always keep first and foremost, I always keep my relationship spiritually with the Lord right. Secondly, my thing is my relationship with my wife, because she's my partner. She's my, well, I'm telling you right now, if it wasn't for Kay, she is secretary, she's chief bottle washer. I mean, she does it all.
Well, with that, I don't mean to interrupt you, but with that prioritizing God first and then your wife and other, do you actually kind of filter through that as you make decisions about things?
Absolutely.
So how do you do that if you're getting too busy with something else? Have you got to say no sometimes, or how does that work?
Absolutely. If I feel in any way that the first and second places, God and my wife, are being shirked at all, I stop it, because those two relationships are what keep me alive, and I won't. That would be silly to cut off Lifeline, and I won't do that. My other, I guess what you would call tricks or whatever, is I always. This is an old saying, but I always lay a plumb line, and to myself think, how is this going to help somebody?
Okay.
I try really. It's when you're first of all, let's just be plain. When you're running a business or when you're trying to make money, make a living, to say that you're not being selfish at all is sort of a oxymoron, because making a living is all about self, and you have to sustain yourself. But I always try, with every motive that I have, to keep it pure and to think of others first and myself second.
But there, there's a real push out there to focus on a mission statement with businesses, and I think it hits exactly this point. We tend to feel like we're being selfish in some aspects, but what happens is if we think about the money we're going to make, or the profits we're going to accumulate, or properties or whatever, we're losing focus on what it is we're doing, the customer that we're helping.
Mm-hmm.
In business, you succeed when you think about other people. So it's that whole selfishness versus service. A lot of times if I give a talk in church or something, I talk a lot about selfishness and service, and you identify in your mind which are you doing. It's the same in business. If you're focusing on yourself rather than on others, you're going to fail. So
absolutely.
I've heard Larry talk about that before too. If you're focusing on anybody but who's going to benefit from what your business does, if you're focusing on your competition, you're going to lose your customer. If you're focusing on yourself, you're going to lose your customer. And it's your customer you have to keep to grow. It's like if you were a minister and all you really cared about was, and there may be some out there, I don't know, but that just care about getting the new car and the new clothes and all that.
Sure, there are.
Here's the thing, though. When you focus on the new car and just profits first, yes, you can have some success, but it's not going to be enduring success.
Right.
And by that I mean you're actually going to survive the long haul, because you're not going to attract the rock star quality people around you. There is no higher calling than serving other people.
Right.
And if you are doing anything where you feel like it's a calling, it's about serving other people. Sure, we can all make money at this stuff. But I think a lot of us, Freddie, get stuck in thinking that work-life balance means I spend the same amount of time outside of work as I do in work. And that's just not even humanly possible.
Mm-mm.
Right? And so I think as you were starting to clarify, it's about priorities. Forget about the balance and focus on the priorities. What's really comes first. And what I feel really interesting and inspiring is that you put God first and your bride second. Is that, I've known that in my head for years. And anyone who knows me is that I've gotten very authentic and transparent over the last few years. And I knew that in my head, but I didn't live it out. And because of it, I've got broken relationships in my wake, I just keep pushing, instead of serving the two most important relationships in my life, and that's the vertical one and the horizontal one. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough.
One thing that I have always kept in my mind is you can live a life and accrue everything in the world, but if you don't have any contact with people, you might as well live on the top of a big hill in a big house with all of your money and never affect a soul, and you would live there by yourself. To me, that's a very bored life. But my motto is this. There's a song, and I've even put it into poem form and hung it on our wall before. It says this: to the ones who come behind, let me leave a path of light. To the ones who come after me, let them see I lived for righteousness and lived my life for Jesus. And to me, that's what when folks see you, that you want to leave a legacy for them so they can follow. What would our life be if when we pass, nobody remembers our name, our what we've given to society? So what if you work that business up and you pass and that business folds and nobody ever remembers that you even was on the corner?
Right. Exactly. That's a big area of focus when I consult businesses too, is that they need to think about what's going to happen after their own life. Mm-hmm. You know, their business should, you know, if you look at the legal entity of a business, you know, it is an individual. It could stand up for itself in court and all that kind of stuff. Well, then why are you going to let it die when you die? You know,
right?
Thinking about, you know, this generational planning is a big thing. It's known by some other names too. But when you start thinking beyond your own life, then you can't help but not be selfish. You know, you can't help but be thinking about other people because you know you're not going to be in the picture there anymore.
Right.
So making, I think it was, it's Robert Kiyosaki, I think, that talks about the big audacious goals. You know, make your goals big enough that you can see them and you can do something with them and get them started. So, you know, did you see, I mean, your weight loss, you had success and failure with it before.
Yes.
So, and we've discussed this before, you and I, but what is it that made the big audacious goal work this time for you?
Well, one of the reasons was I felt like this was the last chance for me. When I almost died in 2009, I asked God for one more chance. And He gave me that. And when, I don't want to call it making a deal, but when you...
That's what you did, though.
Make a deal.
You made a deal.
When you make a deal with God, you're not going to catch me going back on it. That's just me.
Yeah. Now, God just told me though that if you don't follow through, He's putting you on fear factor. So, just trying to help light a fire.
I know that for me, that was like the push. One of the pushing things for me is that I remember that conversation that I had with God. And to me, for me personally, conversations that I have had with people, I remember those conversations and they push me and make me better. Whether they be negative conversations, because I learn as much from negative conversations as I do from positive conversations. As a matter of fact, one of the first jobs I had in ministry, I've always said that I learned more what not to do than what to do. And that goes in also with learning from your mistakes and
right.
Letting them be a teacher instead of a foe. Let them be a friend instead of a foe. And letting them guide you in a better way.
Larry's got a little tagline on that about failure's not for... You want to tell that one?
I've got a bunch of them on failure. Hey, I'm trying to bring failure back. I'm trying to make failure cool again. So one of them is this: failure doesn't define you; it refines you.
I love that one.
That's number one, I think. And I think the one that you might be talking about is what? Failure. It's not just for losers anymore. Is that the one you're talking about, Dennis?
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. Yes.
Failure's not just for losers anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, Freddie, so what are you doing now? You know, what's your mission at this point? How are you out there actually serving people today?
Well, I have made it, to bring it straight home,
yeah.
I have made it a point that wherever we go, whether it is in the marketplace, the post office, wherever, I make myself available. To say that I haven't enjoyed the popularity and the fame, I would be lying if I said that I didn't enjoy it. I like it because it gives me, I love people, and it gives me an ability to help people, and that's the ground, the ground level of what I'm doing right now is our everyday life. I make it about who we can help. We also travel, and I give concerts. I hate to call them concerts because there's a place for concerts, don't get me wrong, but music for me is more of a relationship between you and God. And as a matter of fact, I'm giving a concert today at a little restaurant down the road here, which they have really good fried chicken and country ham.
Uh-oh.
But hey, y'all, I'm just singing. That's all.
Yeah, you're just showing up, right?
So, while you're talking about what you're doing these days, can you give our audience ways that they could contact you? Maybe they want to have you in for a concert or something like that.
Well, you can always find me on Facebook. There's a few spaces left on my friends list. But if you can't find me, if you can't get a hold of me there, if you look at the bottom of my screen there, you can see that my website is there, www.freddycombs.weebly.com. There is a contact portion of that website where you can fill out, and it will go straight to my email. If you would like to send something straight to my email, it is Freddie, just like my name, Bobo, B-O-B-O, Combs, just like my name, those 3 words, at gmail.com. And that Bobo comes recommended of my nieces and nephews.
You knew that question was coming, right?
Yes.
Just you got to address that was going to be asked. So another thing is too, if people have not seen the video from X Factor, I actually put a link straight from if you go to smradio.org/Freddy, it'll take you right to that video on YouTube. So, and that's Freddy with an I-E, F-R-E-D-D-I-E. So smradio.org/Freddy will take you right to that video, and you can cry and clap along with everybody else in there.
There is no question in my first name. There's not a Y. It's not E. No question about
it. Hey, Freddie, I want to ask you about this X Factor show, though, and even the TLC thing. How often do you go back and watch that thing yourself? How often do you replay that movie in your own head? And try to be as transparent as you can. I mean, there's a reason I'm asking this. Yeah.
The TLC thing, when we first got it, I would watch it occasionally. But to be very honest with you, on the YouTube, people have said some really nasty stuff about me.
Yeah.
And this sounds awful, and like that I might be a weirdo, but some of that stuff is so funny to me. I know that sounds awful, but I don't know how else to act about it but to laugh about it. But that would probably be one regret that I had about that one particular show.
Yeah.
I did not like the way that I was portrayed, because that's not who I am.
Right. That's always the risk on TV.
Absolutely. And there are portions of that show that's exactly how I am. Now, I thought we were doing a comedic show. As a matter of fact, they wanted to bill us as the new Archie and Edith Bunker. And hey, I was willing. I was like, if they made all that money, I'm up for making a little change, being the new Archie Bunker. It didn't work out that way, but then the next show we did, called Heavily Ever After, that show was better. But still, there were a lot of people saying, and there are people who anonymity provides folks a lot of guts.
Yep. Yes.
And they will say anything. They just carte blanche, whatever they want to say. As a matter of fact, some of the gospel videos I have put on YouTube have come up. There have been some sideways comments, but
I'll stop doing that, Freddie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we weren't sure you were actually watching those.
I didn't realize you were reading them. I told you, Larry. I told you.
I figured that I'm in good company because I did Jesus the same way. Because you know Jesus, he put YouTube. Jesus put YouTube videos out too. You know.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Well, that's where I'm leading with all of this. Is that it seems like sometimes we have to separate ourselves from that because people out there don't really know who we are, right?
Correct.
And they're gonna, and oftentimes people will make comments about others out of fear of themselves or jealousy or whatever it is that's going on in their own lives. So I'm going to encourage people, only take that with a grain of salt. But also, I think that when we've got little victories in our lives, for me, I have to go back and replay those victories that I have in my life over and over again. Otherwise, the negative stuff creeps in.
That's right. Me and my wife always say. My wife will say to me sometimes, "Why do you want to see that?" And I'm like, "Well, I've really never. To be honest, I've never had an enemy per se, and for that to happen was sort of new for me. So I was like, I'm interested to see what they're saying." And of course, they offer a lot of ways to get rid of me.
Oh wow!
And hey, I told Cass, I got your number, sister. If you're looking on there for any ideas, you better.
You forward that to the police department, right? Yeah.
Exactly right.
Check her Google searches. Where to buy rat poison.
Hey, Freddie, are you able to share with us where it is that you're going to be singing this afternoon or this evening?
Sure.
For the people that are in your neck of the woods?
Yes, I'll be at the Farmer's Daughter Restaurant in Chuckey, Tennessee. It's here in Greene County, Tennessee, and I will be performing from 4 until 7.
Here's the thing. I spent a little bit of time in Georgia and a little bit of time in North Carolina and South Carolina. I love the names of some of the towns down there in the South.
I know.
Chuckey, Tennessee.
Well, all I can think of is the little Chucky horror doll thing. That's what I think when I think Chucky.
There's a little town in Arizona. One of my uncles lives too. I think it has a population of about 9, but it's called Happy Arizona.
Called what? Happy what?
Happy Jack.
Happy Jack.
Happy Jack. Yeah, he's lives up in the mountains and is a ranger up there. So. Anyway, hey, we've only got about a minute and a half left here, and I know we've probably got about 3 hours of information we can talk to Freddie about. But tell me, Freddie, what would you consider somebody that's trying to start a business that thinks it's a huge goal? I mean, what is it that they could do to try to light that fire that we've been talking about? You have some ideas on how they could do that?
To start, well, first of all, you want to get yourself out there, learn to promote yourself, get yourself a business card, get yourself a website, find anything cheap that you can get going, and never doubt yourself to the public. I'm a firm believer in always presenting a concerted, positive front, because if you're negative about yourself, it's sure enough nobody gonna buy what you're selling.
Absolutely. Have a positive outlook on life. And we're going to end this show here, Freddie. We really appreciate having you on the air. We're really glad that we didn't have any technical issues at all. Everything went really smooth. And we are going to be out of here shortly. So we thank you for joining us. And in a half hour from now, I said it wrong before, but in a half hour from now, if you live in Riverside County, you'll be able to watch Freddie on the Saturday Morning Success Talk Show with myself and Sandra D. Robinson. So we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you being here. Have a good one. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Freddie.
Yes.
Welcome to today's lottery drawing. And today's winning numbers are not yours, not yours, and another number that's not yours. And the final number is not yours.
When it comes to